We're here at Sun and Fun 2025 celebrating a new partnership between Flying Magazine and the National Championship Air Races. I'm talking with Greg Gibson of the National Championship Air Races, and he's going to tell us a little bit about something that's old but is also pretty new. Greg, why don't you tell us about how moving the air races from Reno to Roswell, New Mexico is going?
Well, it has been a monumental task, something that's as storied and historic as the National Championship Air Races, Mark. Trying to, take all of that pageantry and all of that nostalgia and then just say that we're now going to operate in a different place is something of an undertaking. And I have to say the team that's been put together to do this has just done a fantastic job. It wasn't our choice to leave Reno. It was, a kind of a collective circumstance that developed that was kind of pressed upon us. Land development, lots of different factors that created our opportunities were shrinking. So it became apparent that the last year was going to be 2023 for the National Championship Air Races in Reno. And we went through a bid process. 38 different cities all applied, and through that process, we narrowed it down to 6. And through that process, we had a committee of about 30 people, all assembled from civil engineers to race authorities. We had timekeepers, we had pilots, we had members of the Reno Air Race Association board, volunteers, just anybody you can think of that was an authority on air racing, pylon air racing specifically, were all part of the process to determine where was the safest, the easiest place for us to race for the longest period of time possible. How could we race somewhere in perpetuity and then build, on the iconic history of the air races in a new location? So it really has gone well up to this point. And of course, we've got our first races coming up September 10th through the 14th.
Greg, what can you tell us about how the racers have responded to the move?
Well, everyone, when this first came up was, the first response was shock. How can this be? This is something that's been in place here for these many years. And, as it's begun to set in, and especially as the racers have now, some have visited down, we've run the first couple of laps around the proposed race course to get a look at it. The racers in general, those that have seen it, are very appreciative of the very flat landscape. They think it's an excellent venue for racing. I think there's always going to be those that are looking at it as they're going to miss where they've been just because it's such a storied thing. But we hear it all the time. The people, they show up for the races and they come back for the people. They show up to enjoy air racing, whether they're racing themselves, whether they're fans, and they come back for the people. So the people are all going to Roswell. And I have to say, getting to Roswell has been one of the most fantastic things. Once we got there and the folks that are welcoming us in, that community has just been absolutely amazing. We've had, every level of government from city all the way up to state. We've had volunteers, people throughout all the different areas have made it just their passion to make us feel welcome. And it has worked in spades. We're really, really appreciative of all that. And so, from pilots to the organizers, and of course to those that we're now bringing the races to, it's looking like a really great move.
Well, what can you tell us about site changes, site accommodations, and how some of the challenges that have been involved in getting it set up to handle this for 1 week a year?
Sure. Well, the elephant in the room is always going to be is there lodging available? And the answer to that is it's limited. The area right around Roswell, in the city of Roswell, is going to be substantially less than what people are accustomed to in Reno, but it is there. And there's also a regional aspect that people don't really expect. So Artesia, Carlsbad, over in Ruidoso, out in Clovis, even as far away as over in Lubbock, Texas, there's a lot of places to stay. And the RV opportunities are incredible compared to what they have been. We had virtually none in Reno. Now we have hundreds, if not thousands, of places for people to park an RV. So while it's not exactly the same, and people are kind of trying to figure out what the hotel situation looks like, It's there. It's just different. You have to look into the region. A hotel staying in downtown Reno was, probably 30 to 40 minutes from Stead, to drive up to the airport. Well, if you're staying in Artesia and not in Roswell, it's about a 25-minute drive. So it's relationship wise, there's some similarities, and there are challenges. We're not hiding from that. We know that there are limitations on how many hotels. But when we talk about the venue itself, we have.
I'm going to ask you about the race course.
Yeah, the race venue itself is amazing. We're on an old SAC base, Strategic Air Command base. You've got these massive runways, massive amounts of space, flat ground everywhere. As far as safety, the surrounding terrain. If a race aircraft is forced to make an off-field landing, then it's very, very survivable. Some of the other places we looked, the terrain just simply wasn't as forgiving. The ability to land an airplane safely if you're having a problem and you couldn't get back to the runway is a top priority. It's a top priority before hotels, before anything else. We had to be able to race. Level 1 trauma center is right there and not only that, there's a school there. A medical school that's training right there on the field. So there's a lot of things working in Roswell's favor that really helped us out. 82 acres of the actual race fan experience space, for people to come in and enjoy all of the military statics, things like you see here at Sun and Fun on the ramp. You have a huge midway where vendors and exhibitors can come piling in there. We have 400 general aviation parking spaces. We had none instead. So where Reno did not allow you to fly into the airport itself, you can now fly directly into Reno, you can fly directly into Roswell and actually land and go to the races, and then you can get back in your airplane. And let's say you're staying in Albuquerque, you could commute back and forth by air. And probably have one of the best experiences you could have where that wasn't even available before. So there's a lot of things that are really different and special about Roswell that I think people are going to appreciate. And if ticket sales are any indication, they're coming. We're doing a good job so far on that.
Greg, can you tell us a little bit about what the National Championship Air Races will be bringing to the Roswell area in terms of advanced education opportunities?
Well, that's a great question. One of the things we've really worked hard on, our mission is to bring fantastic racing, support the community, and support our military. Those are the core tenets of the National Championship Air Races. Serving the community, we have a scholarship program that's actually part of a larger program with our STEM education series that we have every year at the races. Since 2021, we've rolled out a flight training scholarship program, and we have brought through 33 students already, have gotten their private pilot's license with $10,000 each scholarship opportunities. We did that through a large grant from the Ray Foundation, along with all of our donors that have made that possible. This year, we've even expanded it, so Roswell, not only will they get the benefit of that program, but we're also going to have an airframe and power plant scholarship program that's going to be made available through Eastern New Mexico University. So they have an A&P program already there, so now we're going to incorporate into that with our program as well. So really, really spectacular. We're looking forward to being able to do that. Another option that we're offering this year that we haven't before is some of our race pilots are going to take a scholarship home with them. So we have 5 different racers who are going to go back to their local communities. They're going to nominate and select one winner from their region, and there will be the mentor for that winner all the way through their scholarship process until they achieve their private pilot's license. So we have 5 that will remain in Reno. So we're going to do 5 scholarships in Reno. We're going to do 5 in Roswell, flight training, 5 that go home with pilots. So a total of 15 flight training scholarships. Then we do the 5 airframe and power plant scholarships as well through Eastern New Mexico University. So big deal for the community to be able to come in and show how careers in aviation can be something that can be discovered at this fantastic flying event that's going to happen their field. So creating a buzz around the excitement of just the spectacle of doing it, and also showing that they could come and enjoy a career in aviation as well.
Now, I'm sure the maintenance community is going to enjoy a little love from the proceeds as well.
They need it. Can't fly
really
if they're not fixed.
Yeah, that's an undertold story.
No cap. Yeah.
Now, Greg, you have some background at developing these education opportunities. Want to tell us a little bit about your background and connection with Sun and Fun?
Well, I actually, even prior to Sun and Fun, I worked with an air show team where we had a program called Elevate Your Life, and our pilot, Greg Poe, had lost his son to drug addiction. And through that loss, he decided he would go out and get a a better grip on life by helping students keep their eye on the ball before they became addicted or had a problem with drugs. So through that process and being his team coordinator, I learned about how to integrate and kind of reach children. You don't wag your finger at them. You give them opportunities to do things that are fun instead of the bad stuff. And he was a great mentor and a friend. And from that, when I moved to Sun and Fun, and not too many years later, in about 2013, they had a great program here, and it became the Aerospace Center for Excellence. So part of that was the Flight Training Scholarship Program. They have a program here that has continued on, the Project Stratus, that they use the same program we used in our team efforts. We do essays with local students who then are afforded rewards for their good works, and we get to do something cool at Sun and Fun. So I took all of that, and when I got to the National Championship Air Races, we blended it all together and came up with the Flight Training Scholarship Program that we have now. So it's really, these events are very much a family, in and of themselves, whether they intend to be or not. You've got a relationship, my affiliation with Sun and Fun, and of course the performer that flew here led me into a role at the event itself. And then as I moved on into another event, I had a relationship, through Fred Telling and Tony Logoteta, the president, COO, and of course Fred's the CEO and chairman. We had that relationship all ready to go. And when I came out there, with this idea, they were like, of course, it's already been done over here. And of course, the AOPA and EAA both have their scholarship programs. So these education things really can't stand alone. You can't just have what EAA does or what National Championship Air Races does or what Sun and Fun does. They have to work together, and we support each other. So those best practices really travel in between each one. And it's a really good relationship.
And I've got to ask, with the new location for the National Championship Air Races, has there been any talk of an extraterrestrial class?
Well, what's not already known is that Elvis has been racing for years.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's already been out there. But we can't disclose, of course, which class or which aircraft, but he's been there for a while now. And there are
Red Star?
Well, we continue to have certain sightings, and sometimes the race teams are there, sometimes they're not. We consider that maybe an abduction. You don't know. We are looking at, it's kind of, in all seriousness, one of the things we want to do, the UFO culture obviously is huge in the Roswell area. And our effort would be to become every bit as beloved and something that's associated with that area as the UFO sightings, have been, since the 1950s. So they have a very interesting and very vibrant culture surrounding all of that. We've got a new mascot coming up. We're going to introduce that here shortly. I can't do too much right now because we haven't revealed him yet, but we do have a mascot. He'll be kind of a Where's Waldo character. He'll be popping up in different places. You'll need to find him in order to get some good stuff. Microsoft Flight Simulator is our partner, and one of the things we've been discussing with them is to actually have a UFO class in the simulation version of the National Championship Air Races. We already have Reno. They're modeling Roswell as we speak. Mm-hmm. And so once that all gets finished, we're exploring the idea of actually having an alien entry class.
So the virtual class will exist?
It's very likely. We haven't confirmed everything yet, but we're working on it. We're actually had a couple of cool ideas around certain famous spaceships that require some licensing and whatnot. So we'll see how that all turns out. So if nothing else, flying saucers, I think, will be going head to head.
So Greg, what can you tell us about the state of New Mexico statewide and how they are responding and the impact that the state is having on the races and vice versa?
Sure. Well, the state of New Mexico is known as the land of enchantment. And having not spent a lot of time there before I went to Roswell here recently the first time, I wasn't really sure where that came from, but having now been and visited and seen some of the different things that are there and some of the experiences that are to be had, I can tell you when people actually go to New Mexico and they see Carlsbad Caverns, they go up to Ruidoso into the mountains, they look into Santa Fe and see the amazing culture. Definitely out into the desert, there's a state park not far from Roswell called Bottomless Lake. It's absolutely spectacular. And just some of the scenery and just some of the very iconic culture that's around, it's just something you can't miss. I mean, I think people, as much as they went to Roswell or to see the aliens, now we add the air races to it, you're going to start seeing an expansion of an awareness around just the certain, especially just the landscape, just the magnificent landscape features that are there. And don't even get me started on the food. I mean, it's unbelievable what you can come out of there with an extra 20 pounds if you're not careful. I mean, just amazing culture. Just day trips away from Roswell, or if you happen to be staying, around the region, to be able to move back and forth and come to the races one day, maybe do another experience another day, would be absolutely worth. A multi-location vacation would be a really, really good idea. We've got great partners with New Mexico True. You just go to newmexico.org. They have everything you'd ever want to know about where to stay, where to go, who to see, what to do, all of that. And they're great partners. They're there to help us, and they've got a great plan for anyone wanting to come and experience not only the National Championship Air Races, but everything New Mexico has to order at the same time.
So Greg, how can people find out more about the National Championship Air Races in Roswell?
Well, absolutely. Airrace.org is the easiest place to go and find out all the information you need. We're going to have 7 classes of air racing. It's September 10th through the 14th coming this year. And everything you've ever loved about the National Championship Air Races is there. Added now, the new venue of Roswell, larger space, you can fly in. It's going to be a fantastic week. So we hope people will visit airrace.org. If they got any questions, they can just reach out to info@airrace.org. And of course, all of our wonderful partners with the state of New Mexico and the city of Roswell, and of course the surrounding region there, they're all ready to help. They'll find a place to stay. It'll be a great experience for everybody.
Okay, Greg, well, thanks very much for talking with us here at Sun and Fun 2025. And we look forward to hearing more about it.